Is Deadlock actually on the decline? This pressing question has sparked widespread discussion, and today we'll examine the facts, explore the player data, and take a closer look at the trajectory of this ambitious MOBA shooter hybrid. Now, this is a video not telling you that the game is dead. I'm just looking at and examining the question that a lot of players have. First, let's address the concerns surrounding the player numbers. This is all easily attainable data from Steam charts and other open sources. Nevertheless, Deadlock achieved a remarkable peak of 171,000 concurrent players in September, and presently it averages around 37,000 concurrent players. While yes, this is a significant decline from what it originally was, but still for an early access title, this number is actually insane. Another fact you have to account for is that Deadlock is still in its early stages, without any real monetization, a progression system, or a robust marketing campaign. It's already outperforming numerous other early stage games. And like I said previously, the game hasn't even officially launched yet. It's still in the early stages. You have to give developers time to create things. I feel like nowadays, a lot of people don't have that patience to wait anymore. They expect a game to be fully done when they ask for it. But in reality, that simply cannot happen. But what has led to this quote-unquote decline in hype? Like many other games, Deadlock's early public release was a double-edged sword. While Valve's decision to grant early access boosted visibility, it also highlighted expectations for games still in development. No game, particularly one still being refined, can sustain peak interest without fully implemented features. Now, something that I would say is actually a pretty major factor is that Deadlock is a live service game, meaning Deadlock's bi-weekly updates maintain excitement for dedicated players and content creators like myself. On the flip side, the rapid pace of changes can prove challenging for casual players to keep up with, potentially limiting broader engagement. I can understand the frustration from casual players. Say 1 week you're playing a character who you really love and you're doing extremely well with it, using abilities and items you once had. Then the next week, all of that is taken away. The thoughts for that individual probably go like this: they're quote-unquote taking away my fun, so why should I keep playing this game if they're just gonna change the next week? And that's where people don't really understand what a live service game in an early alpha is. At this stage, the whole focus is on refining mechanics rather than sustaining entertainment, a necessary phase for the game's long-term success. I'd much rather have a refined, polished game than a full release game with a whole bunch of bugs, exploits, and just broken characters in general. And if you're that upset about all the changes that are happening to the game, or you're not really that dedicated of a person, I think it's safe for you to quit the game for a little while, wait till a couple patch cycles go through, and then come back to the game. So instead of going back to a game you thought you knew, it's probably easier for you to think of Deadlock as a new game that you haven't played at all, so you're not ending up frustrated with the past. And you have to honestly think that this is all okay, as Deadlock is still evolving. Now, recently they had introduced ranked mode. With the ranked mode, it brought a ton of excitement, but the declining player numbers or player base led to issues such as extended queue times and imbalanced matches. Valve's ultimate decision was to merge ranked and casual modes. Although it might seem controversial, it was honestly healthier for the game. It was a strategic move to ensure smoother matchmaking. Although now you might not be getting your super sweaty matches, I'd much rather play a game than sitting in a queue of upwards to 10 minutes. Now, honestly, some of you might think it's perfectly fine to sit in a 10-minute queue, and that's your opinion, which is perfectly fine. But if I just want to get a quick match in, I'd rather get into a game instantly than sit there for 10 minutes wasting my time. And you also have to think, or at least in my eyes, a ranked mode in an early access game like Deadlock, because your rank, at least in my eyes, doesn't really matter in an alpha game, because upon full release or full launch, it's going to be completely different. And one of the biggest reasons that they had added the ranked mode was that a ton of the community was asking for it, and a lot of people were just growing tired of only playing casual, which I think can be completely fine. But instead of adding that ranked mode and ultimately leading to people's frustrations at the end, I think they could honestly just skip the ranked mode entirely and just focus on refining the game. Now, that might be a bad take and a lot of people won't like that, but I'm a person who prefers refined and stable games rather than anything. Now, despite being in its infancy, or if you didn't understand that, in Deadlock's early stages, Deadlock's competitive scene is actually taking a pretty good shape. There's already been a ton of community-driven tournaments and professional casting, which indicate a strong potential for esports. Now, Valve's track record with games like CSGO and Dota 2 suggests that Deadlock could eventually benefit from a significant competitive support. And just to list off a couple of the tournaments, back around the middle to end of September, we had the Aurora Deadlock Masters with a $10,000 cash prize. There was other tournaments as well, like Deadlock Fight Night, a ton of show matches, and even a charity tournament. Now all of these tournaments, whether the cash prize be $0 or all the way up to $10,000, it shows that Deadlock has the potential to become a really solid esport, and it shows that a lot of players, companies, and potential investors have a lot of faith in this game. And honestly, these tournaments attract a lot of attention and bring a ton of visibility to this game. In the simplest terms, you just have to let the devs cook. That's really all there is to tell you. Now in my eyes, Deadlock is redefining the MOBA shooter genre with its emphasis on vertical, unique movement systems and fresh gameplay mechanics. There is a ton of different unique movement systems in Deadlock. You have double jumping, you have single jumping, you have wall jumping, you have sliding, you have dash jumps, and the list goes on and on. And the thing about Deadlock is that all of the characters in Deadlock are very unique and individual. None of the characters, if any, don't repeat any of the same abilities, although some of the abilities might end up doing something in the end, like just a general ability like stunning someone, but how that stun is performed is all unique. And the fact that they're already allowing you to test new characters that are still currently being developed is probably one of the coolest features I've ever seen from any game. Most of the time you get a new character, it's usually super overpowered or super underpowered. You actually pretty much get to see the process of what they're changing with the character, and most of the time the development team is pretty transparent with the players, something that a lot of games nowadays lack. Transparency from the dev team. See, sometimes if the development team isn't super busy, you could ask a question and they could actually reply to it. Although I did say sometimes, not all the time, it's a lot better than other game studios. Call of Duty. But that's regardless of the point. And again, Valve's commitment to a long-term development ensures the game is poised for success when fully launched. Now, regardless of the game, Valve has a tendency to do pretty well with games. Whether that be updating, adding cosmetics, or doing whatever, they have a pretty good track record of following through with things they promised or said. Now again, I said a pretty good track record, not a perfect one. But now, this leads us to the question of whether Deadlock is actually a dead or dying game. And if you're only looking at the player numbers, you could say the game is dying. But if you actually look at the full picture, look at all of the data, and you have to take into account that the game is in a super early stage with tons of changes happening and just a lot of things to come. If you're looking at that, then the game is not dying. I just believe a lot of people don't have patience anymore. People have to relax and just enjoy what they're given. Now, I'm not really sure if this statement or quote belongs in this type of video, but you have to remember that Rome wasn't built in a day. Development, game design, map design, character design, they all take a while. Even if this game is supported by Valve, you also have to think how many developers are actually on the project. But that's regardless of the point. So do I personally think that the game Deadlock is dying? The simple answer is no. Regardless of what happens, I'm truly excited to see what they come up with. So make sure to stay tuned for what's to come. And if you enjoyed this video or liked what you see, do me a favor, hit that big red button and then go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Those are the best ways to support my channel and it helps me out tremendously. I hope you have a great day and I'll catch you in the next one.